Hi, Lester, Wushu Engineer. I want to start this video out by saying that I'm not a nutritionist or a doctor, and I'm not making any recommendations regarding dietary or lifestyle related changes in this video. I'm merely recounting my own experience with certain dietary changes and their effects on my performance, and that only for interest's sake or entertainment. Before you make any changes related to your diet or your lifestyle, make sure that you consult a healthcare professional such as your family doctor. Earlier in the year, in the month of June, I put together a video about recent studies on garlic that appear to corroborate many of the ancient anecdotal claims regarding this aromatic bulb. In particular, two of the studies that I mentioned appeared to provide some evidence to support garlic's use as a strength-enhancing anabolic supplement that was traditionally consumed by the working classes and the soldiery to increase their strength and endurance, or so it was believed. If you're interested in more background, I suggest that you check out that earlier video of mine for full context. In that earlier video, I provide full references for these studies and others regarding garlic. I will not provide those references in this video. Well, I am a curious individual, and I have a predilection for performing various scientific experiments on myself. So I decided that it would be interesting to perform a study on myself to see if there were any measurable strength-enhancing effects associated with the regular consumption of garlic. I used the study entitled Garlic Supplementation increases testicular testosterone and decreases plasma corticosterone in rats fed a high-protein diet, as a basis for changes that I instituted in my own diet. Of course, what I performed was not an official scientific study by any means. And although I did try to reduce the number of variables involved, it does not constitute proof of anything. However, the results were interesting enough to mention in a video. As I've said from time to time on my channel, I am not a bodybuilder. Building a large peripheral musculature is not my training goal. I have a lot of respect for those who do have this as their training goal and who practice the discipline of bodybuilding. However, this is not my goal. In fact, it is counterproductive to my goal in some regards. While I do want as much functional, combat-oriented strength, speed, and power as I can pack onto my frame, I'm not particularly interested in becoming a mass monster. I do not train like a bodybuilder, I do not eat like a bodybuilder, and I do not get shredded like a bodybuilder. Diet is a very important part of bodybuilding, and I do not eat appropriately for an optimal bodybuilding outcome. I will typically only have the traditional 3 meals a day with no snacking in between. Although I do significant levels of training, the majority of my training is not conducive to bodybuilding, being a combination of types of high-intensity bodywork, calisthenic exercises, significant amounts of martial arts forms training and other martial arts training, bag work, and partner sparring or technique training. In fact, as much as 40% of my overall training time is consumed practicing forms. However, I do perform some exercises that are similar to modern resistance training, except that the focus, intent, and the action is a little different. This type of training has evolved from traditional wushu exercises and forms part of a type of training in our system called potency training. I'm planning on doing a dedicated video about potency training in future. But for now, suffice to say that it involves a special combination of strength training, conditioning, endurance, movement, and Qigong training. Potency training is specifically geared towards increasing combat effectiveness rather than on just being as strong, fit, or tough as possible. You could say that it is a form of highly specialized functional training. In addition, the concentrated effort that bodybuilders spend on training and stimulating individual muscle groups is actually somewhat counterproductive to my own training goals. The compartmentalization of effort and the focusing of force into specific muscle groups to produce maximum peripheral muscle growth is the opposite, or hypertrophy, is the opposite of what I try to achieve in my own training. I try to achieve as much unity through my system as possible. And in fact, I try to eliminate feelings of exertion or overstimulation of peripheral muscle groups in favor of concerted effort exerted from center, which is lower and or mid-dantian. For the purposes of the long-running experiment, there were two changes that I implemented in my lifestyle. Number one was that I took a certain amount of garlic powder every night. I took it at night so that it would have time to work through my system by the time I had to interact with people later in the following day. I don't like being obnoxious. And number two was that I increased the amount of protein that I consumed on a daily basis by approximately 90 grams. The protein that I consumed was predominantly sourced from whole chicken eggs and whey protein powder. In terms of my training, I did not change my program at all. The length and intensity of my training sessions largely remained the same, along with the types of training that I was doing, with the exception of changes that I instituted as a result of natural progression and subsequent increases in resistance or difficulty of the exercises, of course. So while this is not representative of a full scientific study because of the sample size, me, and the level of control, I did institute as much control of variables as I could within the context of my day-to-day life. I have continued with these changes for 4 months of training, and I plan to continue following these changes indefinitely. I believe that the results have been significant. The before and after photographs show what I believe to be noticeable changes in musculature, despite the fact that my training program did not change fundamentally, apart from, of course, the additional protein and garlic that I was consuming in my diet. Let me remind you here again that I'm not a bodybuilder, and the superficial changes in my musculature are not indicative of a bodybuilding regime. This is one of the things that makes the results quite interesting. It would be really interesting to see what kind of effects someone engaged in an actual bodybuilding regime might experience from the additional garlic consumption. The external superficial changes to musculature may be even more clear in a bodybuilder than it is in me. But are these results just superficial? Did I notice any changes in my strength and endurance during this time? Indeed, I did. My performance has improved quite significantly over the last 4 months, and this is why I intend continuing with the garlic and protein intake. But these are just subjective observations, I hear you say. That's true. These are my subjective observations of my own training progress, including achieving personal bests, exceeding personal bests, etc., etc. So instead of just having a subjective observation about this and some before and after photographs, we decided to run a test using the load cell configured to register the force of my standing isometric chest press. This is a test that we performed about 1.5 years ago for a video entitled, "Can Chi Give You Superhuman Strength?" I recommend checking this video out for more context on the test itself. And this is what the new test looked like.
Okay, and go. Go, go, go. 1,000, 1,500, 1,500, 2,000. Keep going, keep going. Go up to 2. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Come on. And stop. Good job.
Where did that go to?
Got up to 2. 1976.
So as you can see from the force graph, my performance was significantly improved. In the old test, I managed to achieve a maximum force that was equivalent to approximately 168 kilograms. In the new test, I managed to achieve a maximum force of 1,976 newtons, which was equivalent to approximately 201 kilograms. During the test, I slipped a bit, as you might have noticed from the video. I had to readjust my grip and footing and lost some of my force after the readjustment. It is possible that I might have actually pushed past this peak force if I had not had to readjust my grip. I did a follow-up test straight after this one, and this is what that looked like.
Okay, and go. Push, 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 push. Okay. Good job. So that was 1709.
Possibly due to fatigue, I did not get up to the peak that I achieved in the first test, achieving only 1,709 newtons peak force, which is equivalent to 174 kilograms. However, as you can see, my peak forces were still well in excess of what I achieved in the old video. My maximum peak force, achieved in the first test that I performed recently, was 30 kilograms, more than 30 kilograms in excess of what I achieved in the old video. This represents an increase of nearly 20% from what I achieved in the old video. During the last 4 months, I have also put on some extra body weight. So my current body weight is about 89 kilograms, whereas in the older video, my body weight was approximately 84 kilograms. My current standing isometric chest press peak force is thus approximately 2.25 times my body weight, indicating that it was not just my absolute strength that increased in the last 4 months, but my strength to weight ratio as well. This kind of big improvement in a 4-month period could be expected from newcomers to physical training, or from someone who changes their training program, mixes it up and starts doing new exercises. As they learn how to recruit muscles and improve their technique and neurological controls, they see large improvements that eventually taper off as the hard work of building additional muscle sets in, and they begin various plateau stages. However, I am not a newcomer to physical training. I've been training for over 30 years now, and the program that I used during this 4-month period has not significantly changed over the last few years. This seems to indicate that the improvements came as a result of the changes to my diet and possibly the garlic consumption. When the results of this informal test of mine are put into the context of the recent scientific studies that have been performed on garlic consumption, it tends to support the idea that garlic may actually have some form of anabolic, strength-enhancing effects, the regular consumption of garlic. So I will continue to monitor my progress in future because, as I mentioned earlier, I intend on continuing with the dietary regime that I have instituted. I felt that the results that I achieved now, though, were exciting enough to share in a video, and so hence this video. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all again next time. Cheers.